Hello, New Paltz. Welcome to Not Quite My Tempo on WFNP Rosendale. My name is Chris, here every Friday at 2 p.m. talking movies, new reviews, recommendations, lists. I just love movies, and that's what I do here. On today's show, I'm going to review the new Jordan Peele-produced horror movie Him, give you my 10 favorite movies of all time, and close out the show with 3 throwback recommendations for the week. I'll be right back with my review for Him, but first here's some movie music, starting with the Terminator 2 Judgment Day main theme by Brad Fiedel. Alright, welcome back to Not Quite My Tempo with Chris on WFNP Rosendale. Kicking off the show today, let's talk about the new Jordan Peele-produced horror movie Him. It's produced by Jordan Peele's company Monkey Paw, but it is directed by Justin Tipping. And the movie stars Tyreek Withers as Cameron Cade, a young quarterback who is projected to be the next great football legend, who goes to train at the isolated compound of current star Isaiah White, who's played by Marlon Wayans, whose charisma becomes something darker as the week goes along. I haven't seen Justin Tipping's other work, but as for Jordan Peele, I've only seen Get Out that he's directed, which I think blended a creepy concept with something being out of sorts on this weekend trip kind of concept, with also a great exploration of racial issues, and it had the social issues that fit the story really well also. So I was interested to see, with Peele's involvement in this, how the idea of sports greatness and pushing yourself to be the best can be blended with a freaky horror concept. And unfortunately, I didn't care for this movie, and I think the horror elements and themes fail to complement each other, and it makes for a really stale and shallow movie. When it comes to the themes this movie is trying to tackle, it deals a lot with the idea of being the GOAT, being him, and how much you have to push yourself to be the best. And even if you have the talent and natural gifts, you have to sacrifice so much to be the best and to be a champion at the professional level. And it also deals with the idea of fan worship of icons, and how you see a lot, not just in sports, but in things like the music industry, how fans can become like a cult worshiping someone in really weird ways that this movie tries to take to an extreme level in a horror setting, with Cam going to this compound where everything seems pretty weird right away. So wherever this was going, I was pretty interested going in, seeing what horror elements and twists was going to tie these themes together. The opening setup feels a little rushed right away. There's an event that happens that kicks off the weirdness even before Cam gets to the compound, and it doesn't get treated as much of a big deal, and it gets moved on pretty quickly. But then Cam gets invited to Isaiah's compound, and I was like, alright, let's see where this goes. There's some setups right away that definitely indicate some of the freakiness going on within this compound and this team culture. But I was like, alright, where's this going to end up? And just curious to see, hopefully, a really good twist on what I was expecting, but that also makes sense with the story, and it doesn't reach a point where it kind of makes no sense. And it ties into the themes of the story as well I was dealing with. So then you get inside, Cam meets Isaiah, and I started getting into it a little bit more. Marlon Wayans' performance was definitely a big part of that. He is a highlight of this movie for sure. You get his first scene, and he seems, like a good guy, a little eccentric, a little off, but he's acting like a friend to Cam, but also laying down the law with his training, and starts to show how seriously he takes football, and how he's trying to use that to motivate him. It's definitely an intense, kind of training practice kind of thing, but nothing too out of the ordinary for a week like this, where it's a full intensive training compound kind of weekend. And Wayans strikes this balance so well throughout the whole movie, as he starts to show his true nature more and more, and as the weirdness grows more and more. His methods and attitude towards the whole thing is so creepy, and I thought Wayans was just so captivating, and was a perfect amount of intensity, creepiness, and like this phony friendliness that he shows throughout a lot of the movie. And starting off, it follows the path of other movies like this, like Get Out, where everything seems pretty normal, some things that are definitely out of sorts. But just getting adjusted to this environment, meeting some people that are there, and there's a few things that are off, some interactions that are definitely a little uncomfortable, but overall things seem alright, seems pretty pleasant. And also following this path, things start getting weirder and weirder, and more things start feeling off as it goes along. And from here, this is where the movie started to lose me more and more as it kept getting weirder. The horror scenes for me always had some problem with them. One is that they often felt very stale. It'll just have Cam kind of walking around the compound, checking something out, and there's like a jump scare, or he has some vision or hallucination, and he wakes up and that's kind of it. Or if it does get crazier with what happens and feel like what it wanted to be like some of the most shocking scenes of the movie in some of these scenes, they always feel very rushed or forced, both with the horror setting and setting up these scenes, but also how it ties into the themes of the movie was quite lazy at times, and like the script wanted it to hit really hard and be really smart, but the writing and setup of these things just didn't support it. And I think another issue is the main character of Cam is not very engaging. Tyreek Withers doesn't show a wide range of emotion, but in fairness, I don't think the script gives him many opportunities to show off a deeper performance. There's not much fear shown. He never looks very shocked or taken aback by the madness happening around him. And as far as the idea of being the best goes and pushing yourself past your limits to reach the top, the character doesn't convey that intense motivation very well. You don't feel the terror or like even that he's starting to believe in Isaiah's ideology and methods. So it's like he's just kind of going through these crazy things and you don't really feel connected to him or what he's feeling scene to scene. And as for the twists and ultimately what's going on in this story and in this weird cult that's part of this team, it's very basic and really predictable. The organization of everything and how it ties into the legacy of these all-time great players and the generations kind of passing along the torch, it's kind of interesting tying that horror concept into the idea of being the GOAT, being him, and how that can become culty at times. But it's a very standard exploration of that. You see where it's going very early, and there's really not much besides that you would expect, or that you wouldn't expect. And I think having a twist in movies like this can hurt it, especially when it doesn't make any sense and feels like they just threw a twist in there just to have a twist when it didn't make sense. But here, the whole cult plot is so basic, I just couldn't get super interested in the story, and the finale really drops the ball too. How it wraps up its themes of fighting to be the great and sacrifice feels very rushed with the characters, and its horrific moments are so gratuitous and lack any substance, and the rest of the story just doesn't back up these crazy moments of gore and feeling like this big, like all-time climactic moment of the movie just feels like they wanted some really crazy imagery to put either in some of the marketing or to get people talking about some of these scenes, when really there just wasn't the story that made this feel any impactful. You watch these scenes and you just feel nothing. Like you don't feel like this is where it was all going and this is like the ultimate culmination of everything you've seen in the movie so far. So it was really disappointing. You could feel the lack of substance in the scene, especially at the very end. But a lot of the style is really strong here. Besides the script, these sets are really visually cool. They look like, an eccentric rich guy's compound with like weird cult-like images that make it unsettling. There's a set with an ice bath like in the middle of a dimly lit, almost like ritual room. That it ties into the story. Like an ice bath is something normal for a football player, especially one as intense as this. But just like the cult-like look and the ritualistic kind of way, it's just like right in the middle of this big room. It looks really creepy. Like it's itself not something that's like shows what's going on, but it just kind of adds to this creepy vibe and the mix of the cult imagery and with the world of football. And the lighting of these sets, there's like a sauna scene and a nightclub scene with like really cool orange lighting and some steam and mist, and a scene later with cool like bluish purple lighting that are really pretty, but with also some of the shadows and darkness in these scenes. It gives a really creepy vibe. It's really beautiful to look at with how vibrant the colors are. But it still doesn't make you feel safe. It still looks really creepy and gives the whole thing a really cool atmosphere. And there's other really cool visual elements too, like I think it's in the trailer, shots showing like football collisions and showing the skeletons of the players, like as the collisions are happening, doing like an X-ray thing, that make the impact, like the visual of the impact, become more unnerving. And that was really stylistically unique, like you feel the bones crunching as it collides, and other really cool things with the skeleton imagery later too that just look really interesting, really like maybe it doesn't tie into the story so much, and I think sometimes it does with like the football imagery. But even so, just on their own, they're really, really cool, captivating images that are some nice horror imagery too. And so there's a lot of talent shown here with the visuals and certain directions in the scenes in some of these sequences, but the script was just not there. And overall, him has a lot going for it. Marlon Wayans really shines. There's visual style that I really appreciated, but the story and themes fail to reach past a basic exploration, and the horror twists and climactic moments fail to engage with a poor script behind them. I'd give it a 55 out of 100, and I can't really recommend it. I think if you like Jordan Peele's other movies, you might, get some things out of this one if you like just cool horror visuals. There is some cool horror visuals there, but overall, I don't think it's a very good movie. All right, I'll be right back on Not Quite My Tempo on WFNP Rosendale. But first, here's some more movie music, starting with Like a Dog Chasing Cars by Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard from the Dark Knight soundtrack. Welcome back to Not Quite My Tempo with Chris on WFNP Rosendale. Next segment today, I'm going to give you my 10 favorite movies of all time. I love all-time favorite lists. I love how different they can be from person to person and how much my favorite movies have certainly impacted me. And this list changes a little bit all the time, but I would say the top 5 are always the top 5. So getting right into it, my number 10 favorite movie of all time is Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas. This is definitely my favorite Scorsese movie. I love The Departed, Wolf of Wall Street is great, Taxi Driver, of course. But Goodfellas has always been that movie for me from him that I love rewatching. This mob world and how he brings this story to life has always pulled me in so much. Ray Liotta, his performance and narration and all Henry Hill goes through in this world over the years, and his relationships with Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro's characters, and how their world and relationships evolve across these events is so captivating and exciting to see. Lorraine Bracco and Paul Sorvino are tremendous as well. The whole cast is incredible. Scorsese's filmmaking with his camera work and direction and the long takes that immerse you in this world, that long take into the diner, of course, is iconic. And this is the Scorsese movie I get engrossed in the most, and I remember watching it for the first time just being hooked in this amazingly told story of just decades in the mob, and just how captivating Scorsese made this movie is incredible. My number 9 movie of all time, I have Pulp Fiction. This is usually my favorite Tarantino movie. A few times Inglourious Basterds and Django Unchained fight for that spot, but I'd say most of the time it's Pulp Fiction. And I remember watching it for the first time, not really being sure what to make of it. I knew it was something special though, and then just rewatching it more and more over the years, I found so much enjoyment and love for all the characters and stories in this movie. The cast is iconic, and all their chapters and how they're told out of order but all interconnecting provides a wonderfully unique overall story, but with each of the chapters you get something different out of them that whichever one is your favorite can really vary because there's so much different stuff to enjoy with each one. But Tarantino's vision and passion tie it all together so well. His dialogue is legendary, the characters feel crazy but authentic all at once. There's humor, suspense, action, crime. There's so much to love here, and Tarantino's creativity is in every second of this movie. At number 8, I have David Fincher's The Social Network. This script and dialogue is so incredible. It's some of the most invested in dialogue scenes I ever get when watching movies. And Aaron Sorkin collaborating with Fincher is just a match made in heaven. The dialogue and organization of the story with the multiple timelines and cutting between the deposition scenes and the events leading up build out the story so well, leaving room for mystery and leading to really interesting and emotional moments in the past and present. The cinematography and lighting are gorgeous. The precision and details like the length of dialogue scenes and stuff like club music being so loud in each scene just shows how much care that makes this movie so captivating. The cast is insane and the story is interesting for how impactful Facebook is and was, but also the story between friends and about wanting to change the world is so powerful and pretty tragic with where everything ends. And there's a great documentary also too about the making of this movie. It's on YouTube if you look up like The Social Network behind the scenes. If you love this movie or just interested in filmmaking, you should watch it. The amount of behind the scenes footage with Fincher and Sorkin and the whole cast and how much of a collaboration this movie was and how detailed they were is just incredible to see. I love this movie so much. Every time I watch it, I think I love it more and more. At number 7, I have Creed. The Rocky movies are incredible, and this one has always hit the hardest for me. Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan as a director-actor duo always hits for me, and I love the character of Adonis and his struggle with his legacy, and how to forge his own path while not being defined by his past. Stallone is incredible here and gets so much emotional depth and continues to add so much to the character of Rocky Balboa. The boxing scenes in this movie are by far the best of the franchise. The choreography and camera work is so dynamic. It's fast and electric, but you still feel the grit of every punch. Tessa Thompson and Michael B. Jordan also have great chemistry, and that romance is really strong as well. And overall, getting Adonis' story with Rocky as a mentor and continuing his life and developing their bond makes this movie so exciting and meaningful to me. At number 6, I have Captain America: The Winter Soldier. And this is my favorite MCU movie. Steve Rogers is one of my favorite movie characters, and this spy story tying into Steve Rogers' past and exploring him in a world he doesn't really understand gives so much depth to the world and the characters. I love the story with S.H.I.E.L.D. and the twists here. The Winter Soldier is terrifying in this movie as the villain, and the fights are so intense and well choreographed and diverse. The Black Widow pairing works so well with their partnership, and the themes of loyalty and friendship that Steve values so much get some of the best exploration here that makes the finale so emotional. I rewatch this movie so much, it's just incredible. At number 5, I have Damien Chazelle's Whiplash. This is the movie that inspired the name of my show. If you've seen it, you know why. This is one movie I remember before I watched it wondering how good it could be, being about drumming, and being shocked watching it how much I loved it. Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons get you just glued to every scene. They're so raw in this movie, and the direction and writing explore their values and perspectives on greatness and being the best that make every scene with them so brutal and personal. And how this abuse is meant to make him the best and reach his full potential no matter the cost is just so interesting. And the movie is so entertaining too. The jazz music and editing to the beat of the music is so cool. And the filmmaking in these drumming scenes and how it develops the characters is so creative. This movie will always be in my top 10, definitely my top 5 as well. And at number 4, I have The Dark Knight. This is still my favorite Batman movie. Heath Ledger's Joker just always amazes me to this day with how amazing his performance is. So menacing, but funny, and just a chaotic force. The crime story and the alliance between Batman, Harvey Dent, and Jim Gordon, and how this battle affects all these men and those around them makes the story so human. Joker's attacks on the city and how he tries to show the worst of people is such a great way to have excitement and character development in every scene. The action is awesome. Nolan's vision for every scene, along with the script written by David Goyer and Jonathan Nolan, and how they tie the themes and the story together, make the ending so legendary. This is just unreal comic book movie filmmaking and just filmmaking in general. At number 3, I have The Empire Strikes Back. I love Star Wars and Luke's training, the lightsaber duels, the Millennium Falcon chase, and just how menacing the Empire is make this all-time great Star Wars. The visual effects and battles and sets are insane for 1980, bringing every sequence to life with so much detail and believability. John Williams' score is sensational, making every scene with Luke's training and Yoda, Han and Leia's romance, the action, the dominance of the Empire, the heroics of the rebellion. They're all so strong and capture the tone of every scene so perfectly. The cast is great and shows their characters' depth and development so well. This is just a crowning achievement in filmmaking that will always be amazing. At number 2, I have Back to the Future. This is one of the most fun movies of all time. This concept, the DeLorean, Marty and Doc, and this whole time travel mess is so exciting. The score is so adventurous and whimsical. There's real character development and depth despite how silly the story can be. And the tone is so balanced with these moments. Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd are so perfect here, and their friendship is so believable, and the way the script ties details together up until the end with their relationship, with events that happened in the past and will happen in the future, provides fun twists and sequences in the story. It's just this fun, smart, and emotional classic. But my number one favorite movie of all time is Christopher Nolan's Inception. This is Nolan's number one masterpiece for me. The World of Dreams and this concept blew my mind when I watched it for the first time, and how it blends a spy action movie with corporate espionage, with this creative sci-fi concept about going into dreams and stealing information through the physical version of someone's mind. The time and care he took with the script shows the world and complexity of this heist with the physics of the world is so incredible and makes everything so complicated and gives so much intensity to every phase of this plan. The cast is great across the board, and I really get invested in Cobb's journey and DiCaprio's performance and his journey with his family and how it relates to his dreams, and that makes the character's arc tie into the story perfectly. This movie just has so much about movies I love in it: sci-fi, incredible writing, character development, action, and Nolan's passion for it is sensational. I never get enough of this movie. It's my favorite movie of all time. I'll be right back on Not Quite My Tempo on WFNP Rosendale, but first here's some more movie music, starting with the song Whiplash by John Wasson from the movie Whiplash. Welcome back to Not Quite My Tempo with Chris on WFNP Rosendale. Closing out the show today is going to be my 3 throwback recommendations for this week. Every week I pick 3 movies from the past that I love to recommend and shout out, and my first pick for this week is 2016's Anthropoid. This is a World War II movie directed by Sean Ellis that follows Jamie Dornan and Cillian Murphy as a pair of exiled Czechoslovakians that parachute into their Nazi-occupied country on a mission to assassinate Reinhard Heydrich, a high-ranking member of the Nazi regime. And I love period movies like this that recreate their time period so well. The costume and production design with the outfits, the cars, the guns, and the old technology, it's fully convincing at recreating this time period, and the settings are also great here, and there's variety within the country too. Starring them, they parachute into a snowy forest right when they get into the country, and then they travel a bit and they reach Prague, so it's like a city setting, and a city setting like Prague is so great for this story. For one, the country is just beautiful, and the movie recreates it so well. But the Nazis' presence make it so dangerous, just like a parasite in this country. And the story is also more of a spy thriller than a traditional war movie, like Saving Private Ryan or Hacksaw Ridge. It's a handful of resistance fighters operating in secret in hideouts. And when they do move throughout the country or make their attacks, they have to be so careful about it and rely more on deception. And the Nazis have such a tight grip on this country that it's already so difficult to pull off this assassination. And they know if they fail, there's only going to be more crackdown, and it becomes even harder. So having these sneakier attacks and sequences makes it so tense because everything has to work, and things will get really bad if they get caught. And you feel how historically important this is, too, showing how dangerous Prague is and how strong the Nazis are in Europe at this time. And this mission could make a big impact, and this movie shows that so well. And for the more explosive action, there's lots of gunfire, but again, it's more confined and more like shootouts than battlefield warfare. There's a tremendous shootout in a church that has like staircases and pillars and windows that make it so chaotic, and the sounds of gunfire and all the debris flying around is terrifying, and the camera work and how it follows the characters around cover, and with a lot of handheld camera work that makes you feel like you're in there with them, so immersive. And the sound design of the guns and the reloading sounds is also really powerful and helps create this chaos. And by the end, you feel the bravery of these fighters and how important their role in history is, and seeing all they went through is really inspiring. This movie is just a great war movie that has the spy elements that help distinguish it, and this true story is so interesting. My second throwback recommendation for this week is Michael Bay's 1996 movie, The Rock. This movie stars Nicolas Cage as an FBI nuclear weapons expert who teams up with a political prisoner played by Sean Connery to break into Alcatraz prison when a rogue military group takes it over and threatens to launch nerve gas at San Francisco if their demands are not met. This movie is so much fun. Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery are an all-time buddy action duo here. They have a dynamic back and forth with Connery's gruffness and aggression and Cage thinking he's being crazy. It's so funny at times. And Cage's lack of military and action experience also makes for a cool pairing. He's so knowledgeable on the weapons they're disarming and is really clever, but Connery has to step up more to do the shooting, and their talents complement each other really well on this mission. And how different their personalities are definitely complicated things, but all in all, you see why they pulled this mission off and why they could work so well together too. And other scenes between them have a lot of respect and dignity that deal with honor and living up to your word that gives their relationship some more depth as well. And speaking of character depth, Ed Harris plays the villain here as the leader of this rogue military group that's holding the island hostage and really the entire city of San Francisco hostage as well. And he's one of the best parts of this movie. He's actually a really sad character that has a backstory that makes his plan a culmination of frustration and injustices, and putting civilians at risk isn't the way to handle it, obviously, but the motivation they give him is so powerful and makes you more invested than if he was just after selfish or evil goals like money. His motivation also ties into honor and loyalty, and that theme is really strong throughout the whole movie here. And Ed Harris's performance is also so good. He plays such a convincing military man who is firm in his beliefs as a soldier and his code of loyalty, and just the perfect balance of toughness, frustration, and sadness from him. And that's what I love about this movie. The action is really exciting, the shootouts are explosive, and the diffusion scenes are super intense and allow Cage to shine. And Alcatraz is also a great setting and makes the conflict feel confined and dangerous. And the movie overall is really fun as a popcorn flick, and Michael Bay certainly can have a lot of action and humor, but the care with the characters on both sides of the conflict, with the relationship with Cage and Connery, and with Ed Harris's character's motivation, makes the movie a lot deeper and engaging than just a fun action movie. My final movie on this week's Throwback Recommendations is 1997's The Rainmaker, directed by Francis Ford Coppola and adapted from a John Grisham novel, and starring Matt Damon, Danny DeVito, Claire Danes, and Jon Voight. It follows a young lawyer named Rudy Baylor, played by Damon, who represents a young man dying of leukemia in a lawsuit against the insurance company who wrongly stopped his coverage. And courtroom dramas can be so exciting, and this one tackles greedy corporations taking advantage of people in need that gives a legal battle you really want to see Rudy win. You want to see him absolutely bury this company for what they did to this young man and his family, and it dives into the personal lives of the characters and how Rudy meets this young man and his family, and how they just wanted him to get the best care he could so he could have a chance at living, and this insurance company just took that away, and they need to pay in court. And Matt Damon's performance is great, and Rudy is such a decent guy that starts the movie struggling to find a job in the legal profession and ends up having to team up with Danny DeVito's character, who's an ambulance chaser and not the kind of thing Rudy saw himself doing with his legal expertise, and how he was going to find his clients. But he ends up doing real good with this case and helping a family get the justice they deserve. And he also meets Claire Danes' character, who is in an abusive relationship, and he's helping her navigate the situation both legally and also emotionally, and trying to help her get out of this horrible relationship she's in. And he cares about all of this that he's involved in. It's not just about the money for him. He wants to make a difference in people's lives and help them as much as he can. So it's a really engaging part of the story. A brilliant young man who is trying to find his place in a profession he wants to do lots of good in, and finding ways he can do that. The resilience he shows, and how he's being talked down to by these big corporate lawyers, and how he refuses to be silenced in his pursuit for justice for this family. You really get into the character as much as you do the legal case. And the courtroom scenes are great too. The dialogue of the witness scenes and the back and forth of objections and how much of a battle courtroom scenes can be is done so well here. Again, Damon is so determined and strong, so his arguments are so impassioned and captivating. There's also great testimony scenes of characters involved in this insurance company and different ways their actions have affected them and others that really shows the tragedy of this whole situation and case. It's an exciting court battle, but it's really sad too how much this system was allowed to take advantage of people. And Jon Voight is also a great performance here. He plays the main lawyer representing the insurance company, and he's so slimy and greedy and pulls all these tricks to get ahead. And the character acts all charming and personable, but is defending such horrible practices that makes the character such a good opponent. And overall, The Rainmaker is a really solid courtroom movie that gets you invested in so many characters and makes the legal battle so intense. I'll be right back to close out the show, but first here's some more movie music, starting with the Top Gun anthem by Harold Faltermeyer and Steve Stevens from the movie Top Gun. That's going to be it for me this week on Not Quite My Tempo with Chris on WFNP Rosendale. Thanks so much for listening. Next Friday, I'm going to have my review for Paul Thomas Anderson's new movie, One Battle After Another, and some other great movie talk and music. But until then, have a good week and enjoy.